In an article titled Reading and Writing for Individuals with Down Syndrome, an Overview by Sue Buckley, she states that children with Down syndrome educated in mainstream inclusive classrooms achieve higher levels of literacy than those of similar ability educated in special schools. For my final special education project, I worked with my 17-year-old brother, Charlie Knowlton, who attends a private Catholic school called Archbishop O'Hara High School in the greater Kansas City area. Children in the article, it states that children with Down syndrome learn to read in the same way as typically developing children, but they make use of their good visual memory skills to read and are slower to be able to use phonics. Recent studies from Australia and the UK indicate that some 60 to 70% of individuals with Down syndrome can achieve functioning levels of literacy by adult life. Children introduced to literacy as a language teaching activity in preschool years reach the highest levels of achievement, but individuals may make significant progress at any age into early adulthood, and many late starters do achieve functioning levels of literacy. My brother Charlie started his journey in reading at a very young age in an infant development center. Although he has not reached his highest level of literacy that we would hope, he is still making great strides in his reading progress. For my project, I set a goal with Charlie to create his own story using different sight words that explain the traditions that our family has during Christmas time. How we set this up was I asked Charlie to orally tell me the story that he wanted me to type up. I typed up the story. I highlighted the sight words that we would be using. These included sight words such as Christmas, Jesus, Mary, Papa Bill, very, about, various words that would be included in the story. And we created flashcards that we then cut up and put all over the table. I would then ask him to pick 5 of the sight words, put them into a pile, and then we would work on memorizing the sight words. So what we would do is first I would ask him to try to look at the sight words and say them. If he couldn't say them, then we would set it on the table away from the other words, and we would spell out the word, sound out the word, and then repeat the word. And then we'd put it back in the pile. This way Charlie would have a repetition of seeing the word over and over again, and hopefully remember it well enough to have it as a sight word. For example, Charlie really struggled with the word very and the word about. One of the things that I noticed with Charlie was that he continued to say a different word that started with that same letter. So for example, for when I would give him the word very, he would say the word van, which is good that he's recognizing that V makes the V sound, but we would then take that word and work with it individually. I did see that Charlie had a lot of progress during our sessions together. According to the Down Syndrome Education International website, it states that verbal short-term memory is another example of a particular weakness that kids with Down syndrome have. The ability of children with Down syndrome to hold and process verbal information is not as good as their ability to hold and process visual information. I do think that the progress that Charlie made was due to the fact that he had the individual flashcards as a visual for him, as opposed to reading the words in a sentence in a book. And the colors of the flashcards I also think helped differentiate the words from each other. The website also says that the verbal short-term memory problems make it more difficult to learn new words and sentences. It's definitely more difficult for Charlie to learn a new word and remember it, just because he has such a short-term memory span. In a study I found by Gerald and Badley called Short-Term Memory and Down Syndrome, Applying the Working Memory Model, this study illustrates two important aspects of verbal short-term memory in Down syndrome. The aspect that I found to be most important was that on average, verbal spans tend to be lower than one would expect given individuals with other abilities. So for Charlie, this means that memorizing a word does take longer for him to accomplish because of his very short-term memory span. Um, One of the things that I did recognize with Charlie was that he is very motivated to learn and he wants to learn. I think this motivation can be attributed mainly to his special education teachers, Mr. and Mrs. McCoy, at his high school, who work with him every single day on his reading. And I think that this can also be attributed to the fact that he did have a goal set out for him that he would eventually read the story to our family at Christmas. And as we continue to work, we've put his story onto an iPad that is now interactive for him so that as he's reading, he can touch his iPad and the words will come up with him saying the word. Unfortunately, I didn't get the video footage of him doing this, but he has made great progress, and I do think that our goal will be made by Christmas time to be able to read the story to our family. I have really learned a lot from this project, and I've enjoyed working with my brother and seeing the struggles that he faces every day, but also seeing the joy that he receives in his accomplishments. And I am so excited that he has come this far in his ability to read, and I look forward to the day when he has reached his highest level of literacy. Very.
Very special time.
Good job. And then how do you turn the page? That's awesome.
It is the
About?
This is about the birth of Jesus.
Good job.